Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something that it feels a bit like a magic trick.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, it's happening in boardrooms, in car dealerships, and maybe even in your own living room. We're exploring the fear then relief effect.
It's a phenomenon that really, it forces us to question how much control we actually have over our own decisions.
Especially when emotions are high.
Exactly.
And we aren't just talking about some vague theories here. We are digging into the groundbreaking research from 1998 by Dariusz Doliński and Richard Nawrat.
It was published in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology.
Right, and their work basically provided the blueprint for how to hack the human brain using a very specific sequence of emotions.
The title of their paper really says it all. Beware when the danger is over.
Which is an incredibly ominous title for an academic paper.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's dead on accurate.
So here's the mission for this deep dive.
Hmm.
We're going to unpack the biology of why our brains just sort of short-circuit when a threat is removed. We'll look at the specific experiments, which are honestly kind of wild, that
Right.
prove this effect exists.
And most importantly, we need to understand how this is used against us.
Right, in negotiations, so we don't fall for it.
Because once you see the mechanism, you start to realize it's everywhere.
Okay, let's get into the machinery of this. The concept is fear then relief.
Right.
On the surface, that sounds like a standard emotional arc. I get scared, the scary thing goes away, I feel better. Simple.
That's the narrative arc, sure, but the physiological arc is where the trouble starts. To get this, we really have to look at the autonomic nervous system.
Okay, so this is the fight or flight stuff.
Right. When you perceive a threat, whether it's a tiger in the grass or, an email from your boss with the subject line urgent, your sympathetic nervous system kicks in.
The gas pedal.
The gas pedal. Your heart rate spikes, your blood pressure rises, your body is pumping out cortisol and adrenaline. You are in a state of high vigilance.
Okay, so I'm mobilized, ready to fight the tiger or the email.
Correct. But then the threat is removed. The tiger leaves. The email turns out to be a mistake. The danger's gone. Now, logically, you'd expect your body to just return to baseline. You were at a 10, now you go back to a 5.
That would make sense. I should just calm down and get on with my day.
But that is not what happens. Instead, you experience something called a parasympathetic rebound. Your body doesn't just take its foot off the gas.
It does what?
It slams on the brakes. The parasympathetic nervous system, which controls the rest and digest functions, it overcompensates to bring you down from that high alert.
So it's not a gentle glide down, it's a crash.
It's a physiological nosedive, and here's the crucial part. In that moment of rapid deceleration, you experience a state of temporary mindlessness.
Mindlessness.
Yeah, your cognitive resources, the energy you use to think critically, to analyze, to make smart choices, they're completely depleted because of that sudden switch.
Wait, hold on. I want to challenge that for a second. If I'm relieved, shouldn't I be better at thinking the stress is gone? Shouldn't that clear up my mental bandwidth?
You would think so, and that's the common misconception. We assume relief equals clarity. But what Doliński and Nawrat found is that relief is actually a state of disorientation. Because your system is so busy regulating that massive drop in tension, it suspends critical thinking. You essentially go into a trance of safety.
So I'm not actually calm and collected. I'm just unguarded.
You are unguarded and you're stripped of your skepticism. You enter a mode of automatic processing. You're not analyzing the world anymore. You're just flowing with it.
That is a terrifying distinction. It's the difference between being safe and being oblivious.
Precisely. And that oblivion is where the compliance window opens up.
Okay, let's look at the evidence. Because this is a bold claim that we turn into mindless zombies just because we stop being scared.
Right.
How did Doliński and Nawrat actually prove this?
They ran a series of field experiments that are fascinating because they happened in the real world, not just a lab. One of the most famous ones involved jaywalking.
Jaywalking.
Yes. Picture this. You're walking down a street in Poland where the study was done. You're waiting to cross the road. Suddenly, you hear a sharp, loud police whistle right behind you.
Okay, immediately my stomach drops. I think I'm in trouble.
That's the fear. You freeze, you turn around expecting to see a police officer writing you a ticket, but instead, you see nothing.
Nothing.
Just a kid with a toy, or maybe a construction worker, no police officer.
Okay, a massive relief. Phew. I'm not getting arrested, not getting a fine.
Right. And in that precise moment of relief, a person who is actually part of the experiment walks up to you and they ask you to do something strange.
Would they ask?
In this case, they ask pedestrians to fill out a psychological questionnaire that would take about 10 minutes.
A 10-minute survey on the street? No way. I'd normally tell them to get lost.
And in the control group, people who didn't hear the whistle, that's pretty much what happened. Very few people stopped. But in the fear then relief group, the people who had just been scared, the compliance rate skyrocketed.
Give us the numbers. How big of a jump are we talking about?
Well, in control situations, compliance usually hovered around, say, 30 to 40%. In the fear then relief scenarios, it jumped to nearly 60 or 70%.
Wow.
That is a statistical landslide.
So nearly double the people agreed to waste 10 minutes of their day just because they thought they were in trouble a few seconds earlier.
Yes. But the researchers didn't stop there. They wanted to rule out a specific alternative explanation. And this gets to the point you raised earlier about gratitude.
Right, because if I'm the listener, I'm thinking maybe they're just relieved, so they're feeling generous. They're happy, the world is good, so they help the survey guy.
That's the reciprocity or good mood theory. But they designed another experiment to test this, and it's arguably even cleverer. This is the parking ticket experiment.
This one I've heard about. This is the one that would give me a heart attack.
It's cruel but effective. They went to parked cars and placed a slip of paper under the windshield wiper. It was designed to look exactly like a police citation.
Oh, no.
Same size, same paper, same font.
So you walk up to your car, you see that white slip, and you just think, damn it, I got a ticket.
Exactly. Your cortisol spikes, you grab the paper, expecting a fine, but when you flip it over, it's an advertisement. An ad for a hair restoration clinic or a blood donation drive, something totally random.
Okay, first of all, I'd be furious. But I'd also be so relieved it's not a fine.
You'd be relieved. Now, here is the kicker. Moments after you realize it's just an ad, a research assistant approaches you.
And asks for what?
A donation to a completely unrelated charity.
Okay, so why does this debunk the gratitude theory?
Because who are you grateful to? A piece of paper, an advertisement for hair growth. There's no person who saved you.
Oh.
There's no social interaction that triggers a need to say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You were scared by paper, then relieved by paper.
So if I agree to the donation, it's not because I'm trying to pay back a favor.
Correct. And yet, the compliance rates were nearly identical to the whistle experiment. People were significantly more likely to give money and more money when they had just experienced that scare.
That really hammers it home. It is not emotional debt. It's a cognitive breakdown.
It confirms that mindlessness theory. The subjects were so busy processing the relief that they simply couldn't muster the mental energy to say, no, I don't want to donate.
The default answer just became yes.
Because yes requires less thinking.
We are cognitive misers. We save energy wherever we can. And apparently when we're coming down from a panic attack, we have zero energy left for skepticism.
We become yes machines because no requires vigilance.
So let's take this out of the streets of Poland and into the office. Because I have a feeling this happens in business negotiations all the time, maybe even more subtly.
Oh, it's a staple of aggressive negotiation. Even if the negotiators don't know the biological science behind it, they just know it works.
Okay, walk us through a scenario. Let's say I'm a freelancer trying to negotiate a contract with a new client.
Yep.
How does a dark negotiator use this on me?
Okay, let's play it out. You've been going back and forth on the scope of work. You're close to a deal. Suddenly, the client goes silent for 2 days.
Ugh, I hate that.
Then you get an email. We've decided to go in a different direction. The budget just isn't there. We're canceling the project.
Panic. Total panic.
Yeah.
I've already budgeted for this income. I might have even turned down other work. I am scared.
You enter the fear state. You start scrambling, maybe drafting a desperate email, maybe looking for other jobs. You sit in that stew of anxiety for maybe an hour, maybe a day.
And then
Then the phone rings. It's the client. Hey, look, I fought for you. I went back to the finance team, and I think I found a way to make this work.
And there is the relief. I'm saved. The project is back on.
You are flooded with relief. But then comes the ask. The client says, look, we just need to adjust the rate slightly to fit the new budget. It's $500 less than we discussed, and we need the timeline moved up by a week. Can you sign the new SOW right now so I can lock it in?
And normally I would say, wait, less money for faster work. No way.
Normally, yes. But in this moment, you are just so happy the project isn't dead. Your brain is in that parasympathetic rebound. You aren't calculating the hourly rate loss. You aren't thinking about the stress of the tighter deadline.
You're just thinking, I didn't lose the job.
Exactly. So you sign.
And I probably thank them for it.
You probably thank them for it.
That is brutal. I'm thanking them for giving me a worse deal than I started with.
That is the power of the tactic. The worst deal looks like a winning deal because it is compared to the absolute loss you thought you were facing 5 minutes ago.
It's all about relativity.
It's relativity weaponized by biology.
So does the timing matter here? You mentioned the researcher approached the people moments after the relief. If that client called me back a week later, would I still be as compliant?
No, absolutely not. And this is the most critical, actionable piece of advice from the research. The fear then relief effect has a very short shelf life.
How short are we talking?
Minutes, maybe even seconds in some contexts. The brain recovers its equilibrium relatively quickly. Once the parasympathetic system finishes its job and you stabilize, your critical faculties come back online.
So if the client says, the deal is back on, here are the new terms, and I say, great, let me look this over and get back to you tomorrow, the spell is broken.
Completely broken. By tomorrow, you will look at that contract and see the pay cut and the deadline crunch for exactly what they are. You'll be indignant, not compliant.
That explains why high-pressure sales tactics are always about now.
This offer expires when you walk out the door, or I need to know by 5:00 p.m. They are trying to force the decision while you are still, for lack of a better term, chemically compromised.
Chemically compromised, that's a great way to put it. We usually think of that in terms of drugs or alcohol, but emotions are chemicals too.
Absolutely. Dopamine, cortisol, adrenaline, these are powerful compounds. Negotiating while you're in a fear-then-relief loop is like negotiating while you're drunk. You just aren't all there.
I want to ask about the ethics of this, or rather, the prevalence. Is this something that's formally taught? Or is it just, human nature?
I think it's a bit of both. You see it in interrogation techniques. The classic good cop, bad cop is literally just fear then relief with two faces.
Ah, of course.
The bad cop creates the threat, prison, pain, shame, and the good cop provides the relief. A cigarette, a coffee, a sympathetic ear. The suspect confesses to the good cop not out of trust, but out of a desperate need to keep that relief flowing.
So the good cop is actually the more dangerous one.
In terms of manipulation, yes.
Yeah.
The bad cop breaks you down, the good cop harvests the results.
But in a business setting or even a social one, people might just be doing this intuitively.
Oh, absolutely. Think about a relationship. One partner threatens to leave during an argument. They storm out, fear. They come back an hour later, calm, and say, I don't want to fight. Let's just do it your way, but I need you to promise to never see that friend again.
And you agree, just to stop the bleeding.
You agree to a concession that might be unhealthy or unreasonable just to secure the relationship. It is the same mechanism.
So if I'm listening to this and realizing, wow, I've definitely fallen for this, how do I defend myself? Because we can't just turn off our nervous systems. We are going to feel fear and we are going to feel relief.
You can't stop the feeling, but you can stop the reaction. The defense is actually quite simple, though it's hard to execute in the moment.
What is it?
It is the pause.
The pause.
When you feel that wave of relief, that, oh, thank God sensation, that should be your red flag. It shouldn't be a green light to act. It should be a stop sign.
So the moment you feel safest is the moment you should be most suspicious.
Exactly. You need to train yourself to just say, I am feeling a lot of emotion right now. I am not in a state to make a decision.
It goes back to what we said about the timing. If you can push the decision by even an hour, you win.
You win because you get your brain back. You need to wait for the mindlessness to fade. If a negotiator or a salesperson presses you for an immediate answer right after a scare, you have to recognize that pressure as part of the trap.
You have to be willing to be awkward.
Yes.
You have to be willing to say, I'm so glad we fixed this, but I'm taking a lunch break before we sign anything.
Being willing to sit in that awkwardness is a superpower in negotiation.
This has been incredibly eye-opening. We've gone from Polish street corners to corporate boardrooms, but the thread is exactly the same. Our brains are hackable.
They are. We are evolutionary marvels, but we run on old software. And that software can be exploited.
Before we wrap up, I want to recap the main points for everyone because there was a lot of science in there.
Sure. Point 1, the fear then relief effect is a biological sequence. High anxiety followed by sudden reassurance.
Right.
Point 2, this transition causes that parasympathetic rebound, which leads to a temporary state of mindlessness, a cognitive deficit. Point 3, in this state, we are statistically way more likely to comply with requests. Not out of gratitude, but because we lack the mental energy to say no.
And 4.
Point 4, the effect is immediate and it's short-lived. The defense is to simply wait. Wait until the fog clears.
Perfect. It's scary, but knowing it is half the battle.
It really is. Once you see the strings, it's a lot harder to be a puppet.
I want to leave you, the listener, with a thought that's been nagging at me through this whole conversation. We've talked a lot about how other people use this on us, but I'm wondering about the decisions we make for ourselves.
What do you mean?
Well, think about the major pivot points in your own life. Taking a new job, buying a house, maybe getting married. How many of those decisions were made because you genuinely wanted that specific outcome? And how many were made because you were just escaping a fear?
That is a profound question.
Did you take the safe job because you were terrified of being unemployed? Did you rush into a relationship because you were scared of being alone? We often mistake relief from fear for happiness. But this research suggests they are very, very different things.
One is a choice, the other is just a reflex.
Exactly. So the next time you feel that wash of relief, enjoy it. But maybe don't sign anything or marry anyone for at least 20 minutes.
Solid advice.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.